And we are back. Good morning. I'm actually filming this first thing this morning. I hope that you guys have had a fantastic trading week. I know that it has been a little bit wonky and a little bit up and down. We've been seeing smaller moves, maybe not so much bigger moves, but we did see something a little bit towards the end of last month, more than likely due to, I shouldn't say more than likely, it was due to the news that we've been having. We're actually going to have some more news that's going to be pretty high impactful this week, so that is something to look out for. If you are new to my channel, I am Ashley, and I'm here to just simply help you become a better trader, become more confident in the decisions that you make when you trade, and just an overall better human being in the trading space, period. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get started. I've kind of already marked up all of my charts to the weekly, just so that we can kind of get an idea on direction. I may be changing this in the future just so that you know, we can switch it up a little bit, but it is helpful to go to the higher time frame so that you can get an overall bird's eye view of what the market is doing. So currently, let's see, let me stretch this out a little bit. This is again on the weekly. Let me change my mid to the ask. Make sure that you always do that if you're using forex.com, because it won't always show you the actual price if you don't change it from the mid to the ask. So if you're looking at this as of right now and you're a new trader, what would you potentially see? I know that when you're a new trader, it can be really difficult to look at the market and really kind of get an understanding. And that's okay. It's not going to come to you overnight. It's going to take a little bit of time to actually understand. So from here, you basically just want to look at what previously was happening. So for last week, kind of where last week had left off, and a little bit of what the pattern that prices previously created within the last few weeks. So this is going to be like running into months and stuff at this point. But what we're going to do is just kind of basically use last week's, specifically just this guy right here, as a guide as to what we can potentially expect for this coming week. So what I believe, because it is looking like we are headed in a bullish direction, headed up, I think we may see some rejection here. Now, the reason why I think that we're gonna continue to see a little bit of rejection here is because this was a pretty prominent spot. Even though it may look kind of small here, price had kind of held right here, and this was at one point support for this candle. And then once it passed and then started to reject on the next week, which was the week prior, then this line right here, or this space right here became turned into resistance. And I believe that we may see a little bit of consolidation back and forth here. Let me grab my brush tool so I can give you an example. So I think it's a strong possibility that we're going to see, I don't know why it's printing out like that. That's crazy. Why we're probably going to see a little bit of consolidation, a little bit of back and forth before hopefully maybe we can see a break. I have set up already previously on my previous account, or my other account, a bunch of alerts to, in other words, trap price, so that I know when price is getting ready to move. And it can't move until it'll move, but once it moves, in the process of it moving, I can know exactly what's happening. And I did show how to set up an alert if you're using forex.com last week. So let me try to, I also want to delete. All right. Weird. I can't even delete it. So crazy. Anyway, hopefully it's not going to get in the way of us actually making changes, because for some reason it won't delete, and that's fine. So let's just go ahead and we'll scoot down to the 1 hour. Hopefully this is not a problem. Try not to, I don't know what's going on. Try not to pay this any mind. We're just going to try to move forward, because I definitely don't want to have to start brand new. Let me see if I can get it off like that. Perfect. Okay. So again, some of those small, or it appears to be like one candle on the weekly. It's going to look a little bit different on the daily. And as you can see right here, I'm going to drag this over just a tad bit. I'm going to drag it because I had left it there previously just to see where price would go to. But I'm actually going to keep that, my mistake. price has been bouncing back and forth anyway. So what looks like maybe heading up or kind of looking kind of funky on the weekly chart, it's going to show you a little bit more action on the daily. That's probably why a lot of day and intraday and swing traders go to the monthly, the daily, the weekly in order to kind of get their bias for where they feel like the market is going, because eventually, or essentially I should say, that is the overall of where the market is. Now you can still make smaller trades on smaller time frames. So let's go and continue to keep looking. I feel like there is a large rejection here. I'm gonna even move this down just a tad. There's a large rejection here. So I don't know if we're gonna get up out of here. Granted, you can still place a trade and still be able to collect some pips even on like the daily this coming week. But I don't think that we're gonna see too much movement. But I could be wrong, because on the 4 hour, that's a lot. That is a big candle. Now, granted, news related candle, but what we could potentially see is price breakthrough. I dare to use this again. Breakthrough, come back down for a retest. I'm trying to look right here. So anywhere where the market has previously resisted at, or this is a resist right here, or used as support, you can almost guarantee that that's where your retest will be. So it's not a guarantee, so let me not say that. It's not always a guarantee, but more than likely, usually that is where the market comes back down to. So we could potentially see it kind of pull back at this point, or I should say pull back, not retest. My correction, I apologize. So you can usually expect to see a retest at the space where price had either previously supported or resisted at. This is the resist that we're using for an example on this particular one. But if it was a support, you would kind of expect the same, to see it kind of retest back in that area. So always just remember to leave enough room for the trade that you take. But I feel like we could potentially see something, you know what I'm saying? It's never going to be like a straight line, but something like that. And then we'll be looking at, if you're planning on getting in or getting out of this position, you'll want to make sure that you're probably out, or just keeping an eye on price when it hits this next close to a bank level, because then price could potentially reverse. So I mean, you can always let your trade keep running and then just keep an eye on it as it kind of gets to that level, or set up alerts. That's what I've done. So like on smaller time frames, I'll take it to like an hour, and then potentially I'll trap price. So I'll put let me grab, I'm just doing this for an example, excuse me. I'll potentially put an alert there, and I'll put an alert there. Once it gets closer to, let me pull out real quick. Once it gets closer to this area. So let's pretend that that space that I just showed you, one more time, right here where I put the line at, where I put the midline at, and kind of trap price, I would do that on, like, let's say the 4 hour. And then once price gets to one of those time frames, then I can keep an eye, without having to babysit the market, keep an eye on what price is getting ready to do next. Because at the end of the day, we don't know. This is a probability game, right? We can use some of the things that the market has done in the past, which is our technical analysis, to tell us what is going to happen next. Fundamental news also helps as well. Fundamental analysis helps as well, to help us know exactly what's getting ready to happen next when it comes down to the market. So that's something that we can definitely use for help. But at the end of the day, the market's going to do what the market wants to do, period. So just keep that in mind. You can't really outsmart the market, because that joint will chew you up and spit you out and take all of your money and smile right back at you. So just keep that in mind. Hopefully that piece was helpful. Let's go ahead and move over to EU real quick. I feel like I spend more time on EU, so I'm going to try to divide the time. So again, starting on the weekly, we're kind of going to get the same thing. The market, if you haven't noticed in the previous videos that I've told you before, if you're using, and I haven't done this in a while, let me do this. So let's say you have this one, EU, oh boy, EUR, and then you have the line, right? And then you got USD, and the same thing goes for AUD, GU, NZU, UCAD. It's kind of all like it's the same concept. Let's say that they all have USD as the, let's see, I can't remember. This one is the base, and then this one, apologies. This one is going to be your base. Just always remember the first set of numbers for your pair is going to be the base, and then the second one is going to be the quote. So anytime you have the pair, and the pair is set up the same. So EU, AU, and GU are all the same, right? They're set up in the same way because the foreign, if you're watching from the US, the foreign one is going to be the first one. That's going to be that base one. And then the quote is going to be the US one, right? And usually what happens, more times than not, those pairs tend to mimic each other when it comes down to how it kind of looks or where the market is at that current time. So just keep that in mind. That'll be helpful for you in the future. So like if you're making a trade on AU and you're expecting it to go out, now granted, it can do this too, but still just something to keep in mind that I've seen in my experience in the market of kind of watching it over some time. You could be placing a trade on AU headed in a bullish direction, and then turn to look to EU, and it looks like it could maybe be going in a bearish direction. Sometimes we miss those cues though. If you go to AU and it's bullish, and you go to EU and it's bearish, and then you go back over to GU and it's bullish, go with the mass. Don't go with the mass. If you feel like it's out of the three, with the base quote being the first one here, and there's two that are going up and one that's going down, more than likely you probably missed a cue on GU, and it is actually going the same direction as the other two. So just something to quickly keep in mind. I won't go into too much, but let's go over EU and see what we are looking at for the week. I feel like it's going to be pretty close to the same, and it'll probably sound a lot like the same once I actually kind of go through everything with you. But I'm just trying to clean this up real quick. I'm not trying to keep the video too crazy long. Okay, cool. So kind of like on AU, the pattern is starting to look the same. We're looking like we're possibly going to see some consolidation. It is headed in a bullish direction. They're both kind of doing the same thing. I'm going to put this on ask. Let's switch it over to a daily. So yeah, same thing. Big surge like we had last week. We could potentially see price get up to this space here, and then potentially see us going back down for whatever pattern it's going to give us in the next couple of days. So we'll just have to keep an eye. From what I can see, it looks like that's what the situation is going to be. Am I 100%? Nobody is. So just keep that in mind. All you can do is use what you've previously, what the market has previously done, and your analysis, and kind of go from there. That's why it's a good thing to backtest, and backtest can look however it needs to look for you to get a better understanding of the market. So yeah, again, same thing. I feel like we're gonna see price potentially get up to here, and we may not. We may not, because price didn't previously get up to there last time, and you can see the candles continue to getting smaller and getting smaller, which is a good thing, because once the candles start to get smaller, even though this one is huge, once the candles and the movements start to get smaller, then essentially what we're looking at is, I think I've said this in previous videos, you treat it like a spring, right? Like the Corley spring. Here, let me draw you a crap spring. You know, the springs that look like this, and then you can push them, and then as soon as, or put them together, and then when you put them together and then you let them go, they just kind of spring out. That's what you can kind of expect when the market has smaller and smaller candles, smaller and smaller movement. Essentially, it's going to break out eventually. So when it comes down to EU, I kind of have the same bias as I did with AU. I'm just looking for it to get up there. I do have alerts as of right now, because I think potentially what you can do is you can set like a stop loss just below here, see price potentially get to here. We'll just have to see. More than likely take my profit just as it gets above here. and then see what the market wants to do, or hold and see if the market is able to potentially break through. Sorry, this looks humongous on a 1 hour, but potentially see if the market wants to break through this particular level and see if it's going to retest and we're going to hold, or if it's going to head back down in the other direction and we're going to potentially see more of that consolidation. Let's switch over to UJ. So on UJ, kind of the same. We're probably going to see some consolidation. All three of them are heading this. Clearly, I need some coffee. I obviously mean GU, not UJ. The daily real quick. Yeah, so when the market opens today, it'll be good to kind of see what it potentially does here at this level. Again, I have trap price on my other my other account, so that I can keep an eye on what is potentially going to be happening next. Let's switch it over to the 4 hour and see if we can see anything a little bit different. Like maybe a retest, because I know I've seen a retest on a couple of them when I was going through the market previously, like last night. Yeah, so this looks like a retest. Easy. It could easily be a retest. We'll just have to see if price is going to stay in this area once it kind of gets back to this little space again, and then kind of move from there. As of right now, let's see. We probably wait. We're just waiting. We're looking to wait to see what the market is going to do next. That's why the alerts are on there. A lot of people do not or won't put a position in on Sunday because they feel like a lot of fake outs tend to happen on Sunday. I feel like you can potentially put a position in on Sunday, just depending upon how it looks. It's a possibility that I could see something happening on this particular chart because of what has previously happened in the past and kind of where price held at. So I would maybe put it in as a position based on the previous place where price was at, and look at price, trap it again, put yourself in a position, trap price so that you can keep an eye on it. So that would mean a stop loss. Technically I should be using my 15-minute, but stop loss just below here, take profit just above here or around in this area, and then just watch as price kind of goes. If you have a position that you are unsure of and you're not sure which direction, but you still want to give it a try or at least use it, you can either A, use your demo account, or if you still want to use your real money, just make sure that your lot is a lot smaller, just in case it goes in the wrong direction, until you can get a better, get your feet in the dirt a little bit better and have a better understanding of how it moves and how it works, and whichever pair you've decided on. So let's switch over to UJ. UJ is going to look a little different. So remember how I said like all of the other ones with that base quote being on the left and then the quoted on the right? It's going to go in the other direction. So the others, you see they were headed in a bullish direction, and because this one is UJ and USD is first, it's going to be headed down. So that is just, I don't know. I find that makes it easier sometimes when making a decision on if you're going to put it in a position on like AU, EU, GU, or UJ, right? So let's scoot down before we do. Switch that over to ask. Sorry for my voice, like cracking in and out. I literally just woke up. I probably sound fucking crazy. That's okay. It's been a weekend. So from right here, what I can see is like maybe we could potentially see a retest when it gets to this area. We'll just have to see. Let me drag this over. We'll have to see what price does when it gets here. I wouldn't be comfortable doing anything until I could see some type of like pullback, and then kind of a continuation, and then we'll go from there. But as of right now, it looks like, let me speed this up a little bit. Perfect. I want to see what price does. I've got price trapped on my other account, where I want to see what price does when it gets to this area, and then decide from there whether or not I'm going to take a position, just because I'd be waiting to see, because price has previously been kind of small. So let's jump over to the 4 hour. And it's funny because on the 4 hour, this already looks like it had began to give us a little bit of a retest. So time will tell. We just have to give some time to see exactly what's going to happen. When it comes down to this one is already starting to try to make lower lows and lower highs. So we'll just have to see what happens when price gets to this area, because it was a pretty, in the past, it was a pretty, as you can kind of see right here. Let me try to circle it for you so it doesn't look so hard to see. In the past, where price was previously at, when it got to this area, it was either hitting us with a reject or a support, a support or resistance, and it became that kind of an area. So that's why, more than likely, because it is a bank area, a bank level. So that's why I'm trying to wait to see what happens when price gets to here. If we can see some type of higher high or higher low, and if that pattern continues, then I will be going ahead and getting in on a short position. So that is it for today. I hope that this one was helpful. I hope the last one for last week's was helpful. If you have comments, or you have questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'd be more than happy to help you if there's something that maybe you don't understand and I have a little more insight on for you. I would definitely love to be able to help you. I am in no way, shape, or form a professional, but I'm growing in this thing just like you are. So you are not alone. I hope you guys have a fantastic trading week. Get after it.